Hello, 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 Dan. Welcome to the show. How are you today, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you, Ash. Happy
I'm
to be
very.
on. I've been watching your show, keeps popping up every day. So I'm not going to say every hour, but that would be a bit of an exaggeration. But yeah, I keep seeing it pop up every day or so. So yeah, it's good to finally see myself in this mortgage marketing backdrop. So
I
yeah,
love it. And I just realized then, sorry guys, I just dived straight in because me and Dan have been chatting. Welcome to the Mortgage Marketing Podcast. Normally I'll do the introduction at the beginning. So welcome to the show. We've got Dan Reddish today. Now, anyone who doesn't know Dan, to be honest with you, where have you been? Dan's been kicking up a storm in the mortgage industry now for a number of years, really, haven't you, mate? I mean, I heard a year and a half before we even spoke, and that was a long time ago. So, Dan is the founder of the New Age Advisor program, which is a program I have the honor to be a coach on. You've worked with tons of mortgage brokers all across the country, helping them with marketing and on consulting and growing their business. So it just was a no-brainer to have you on the show. Like, obviously, you're a pain in the ass to nail down to get on the show, which he knows. I've been saying, come on, he's too busy jetting away on holiday because he's making people successful. But Dan, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Like, so obviously I've given you a bit of intro there, but who is Dan Reddish? What do you do? Just give me a bit of a backstory because I probably don't know. I mean, I've edited some of Craig's videos, so I do know some of it, but I'd love to hear, like, who is Dan Reddish? How did you get into this?
Yeah, well, my background is marketing. That's how I'm kind of where I am now. Obviously, it's marketing. I've got into financial services within the past. I think it's about 4 years now. I've just been doing it. Well, taking it right back. How I got into this was club nights. I used to do club nights back in the day. I think you knew that much, but for everyone else, It doesn't. That was like when I left school. I always knew that I wanted to do something for myself. I didn't really want to work for somebody. Obviously, I did because when you leave school, you have to have a job, so I had to pay the bills. So I worked part time, but it was ideal because I worked part time, so it gave me the rest of the day. I think I worked like 9 till 1, and it gave me the rest of the day to do all this like club promotion stuff that I used to do, which is like booking DJs booking venue, then booking DJs, and then promoting it. That was where the marketing came in, because back then, this was like the early 2000s. So the internet was obviously there, but it was in its infancy. There was sites like MySpace. I don't know if you can remember stuff like that, where you could play a little tune on there. Yeah. That was one of the first, and used to do it on like clubbing websites, like forums, message forums and stuff, where you used to plug all the details in there, like who was playing and what was going on. But then Facebook came out in like 2004, and you could set up like events like you can now. But back then, they weren't really that strict on spamming people. So we just spam the hell out of people. I'd invite all my friends to the event, all the DJs. I'd get all my friends to invite their friends to the group, to the event. And then you could message everyone as well. So we're messaging everyone like every day. So there's one day left, 2 days left, and then sort of just blasting people. But obviously, I didn't know much about it then, so that was the only thing that I knew to do. Now, obviously, I realised that just doesn't work when you blast people. But
do you remember, just quickly on that, I want to keep going on your story, but I remember with Facebook, like how you would accept anyone. Do you remember like that? Like you just literally like friends it up. You just have anybody and everybody, like yeah. And now it's so hard to get someone to accept you. Yeah. Like it's funny how it's changed.
People learn, haven't they? Back then, nobody really knew what social media was it? It was just about it was a bit of a vanity thing to have a load of friends on Facebook, wasn't it? So, like you say, just accept anyone. But you've knocked me off my train.
Oh yeah, no. So sorry. So you're saying that you that's like you started off doing like Facebook events and things. So how did you then move into the more digital marketing?
Yeah. Thank you. So that I just realised that doing that, sat on my arse, doing that online, would save me running around sticking posters on walls, running around at night with a bucket and a paste brush, pasting it up on walls. So I just realised that it was an easier way to do it. So then I kind of took on, because I learned graphic design through doing that, because I designed club posters and flyers and stuff. So I started to take on some other clients to do the like Facebook and to design graphics for their Facebook, like some of the bars and restaurants and stuff. So so then that built up a bit of momentum. And then I was still working part time, but like I said, it was always my goal to kind of quit that job to do what I was doing for myself full time. So I was still doing the club nights, but then I was doing more of the marketing stuff because the club nights was never really a massive earner. It was just more of a fun thing, really, just a party for me and my mates every month. But it taught me a lot. It taught me like how to work for something and see the results by promoting it, because I used to work hard putting posters up and doing all sorts of flyering. But yeah, it taught me a lot. And then, like I say, I was making more money from the marketing side, the Facebook stuff. So yeah, I built up a decent kind of client base of bars, restaurants, pretty much everything. And I had a couple of brokers on there. Well, I had one initially, and then he introduced me to a couple more. And then it got me to the point where I was earning enough to quit the job. So I quit in 2015, I think it was. So I just went full-time self-employed, just like I said, just doing Facebook. And then I started running Facebook ads for people. And then, yeah, it got to a point where, well, in more recent days when COVID hit, and then I was like I said, pretty much 50% of my client base was bars and restaurants. So obviously we know what happened there when COVID hit. So I was like, oh shit, within 24 hours, well, maybe a bit longer, but pretty much 50% of my revenue just went down the toilet. So that's
so with that thing. So I knew that you worked in the, because I knew some of this, because me and you chatted about this when you first approached me about New Age Advisor, and we were chatting about like backgrounds and stuff. So then because I know you said a bit with brokers. So how did you get into the broker? I mean, I'm interested in learning that a little bit more, because me and you've chatted about this in the group sometimes, is that you're very well known in the industry. You work very closely with Primus. You've done you're very well known, but you didn't come in through like a route, like say, for example, myself, which had a mortgage background and liked marketing, got in. You came in through the entertainment side, through the hospitality side, and hugely gained traction where many people I know have not. So how did you get into that? How did you start to mix with brokers? And yeah, that'll be interesting to know that.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much ties in with where I am in that story of my story, because when COVID hit, like I said, I had a couple of brokers that I was doing the marketing for, and one of them, probably about 6 months to a year before that, had introduced me, because I was getting good results for him. He'd spoke to one. He was with Primus, and he'd spoke to one of the guys. It was Bob Scott.
Yeah.
And obviously he sang my praises to Bob, and Bob was well, wanting to meet me, so we met up with him. And then I think he put me in touch with Dave Corbett.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
Yeah. We need to get Dave on to a new.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I think Dave got me to do some, when lockdown hit, Primus were doing a lot. They were really good at kind of keeping people through lockdown, upskilling people, and keep giving them something to keep them kind of going. And yeah, they wanted me to do some like workshops, social media workshops, over Zoom, obviously. So that kind of put me in front of a hell of a lot of brokers. And yeah, that really kind of, because like I say, it was perfect timing, because I'd lost pretty much half of my revenue. And then Dave got in touch and was like, will you do this? I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. And that kind of, like I say, put me in front of a hell of a lot of brokers, and that kind of just expedited things as well for me.
So then, like, I love unpacking this, and it's good for people to know, because some people will know who you are but didn't know how you got to there.
Yeah.
Talk me through the New Age Advisor, as in like, where did that come from? Like, we'll talk about what it is in a bit, but you know, when you approached me, it was summer. Like, I remember you approached me and you were like, I have this idea. I've been working on this idea, but you'd obviously been working on it for a lot longer before you approached me. And it took a lot of time since we spoke first, before it was like 6 months from when we first spoke to when it got started.
Mm.
So it was obviously something that was not just you can tell that by the effort and the results that we've had from it, but it wasn't something that just thrown together. It wasn't like there's work here. I'm gonna let's make a course and done. So what made you make this? What made you think this is something that the industry needs, that I can deliver? And also what made you say, which is very rare, I know this is because you can tell me about the whole story because of it, but it's also that you approached someone like me and you approached someone like Ross, me being someone at the time you could have seen as a competitor. Like, this is what you stood out to me, was it was like you were doing things different to anything else I'd ever seen. So talk me through kind of that conception of the New Age Advisor. What was going through your head? How did you do it?
Yeah, sure. So it's always, well, not always, but for a good number of years before we got to the point of putting it together, it was always in the back of my mind to put together an online program, an online course of such. So it was always, like I say, in the back of my mind. And then again, lockdown, that kind of brought it to the forefront, because I was doing I was obviously, like I said, running ads for people, doing the done for you kind of Facebook marketing, but I was also doing coaching, and I was commanding decent fees for that. I was getting paid okay for that. And so I looked at that and thought, yeah, this is a good part of my business. This is a good part of my revenue. But lockdown happened. I was like, well, that's that gone as well. So I was like, oh, shit. So I needed to kind of change things. And that was the answer. Like I say, it was always in the back of my mind to do an online course, but I thought I could kind of incorporate the coaching side into it, which is obviously what we did, was to kind of productize into something that's kind of COVID proof, that you can just kind of scale as well. Because the other thing with one-to-one coaching is that you're limited by the amount of hours they are in the day. But yeah, with this kind of online model, that kind of goes out the window to a degree. It's a lot more scalable. So yeah, that was the kind of trigger that I needed. I think a lot of people need like that kick of the bum to actually make them do something, which is what I needed. So it was like when we did Craig's, there was another podcast we were discussing that for this COVID situation, for a lot of people, obviously it's been a massive a tragedy for a lot of people. People have there's two sides of it, but there is the other side where, like, people like me, I've profited from it because it's kicked me up the arse to make me think I need to change or I need to do something different. So yeah, that was kind of the inception of it. And then, yeah, like you say, from that point to me contacting you.
Just having a bit of a technical issue there, guys. So I don't know where Dan's gone. Just on the bit when he was about to say about working with me. He's back in. It just was contacting you, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to go now. No worries. We're bringing you back in. I'm just going to see if I can turn down some of the settings to see if we can. Now we're all fine. You'll come in. You're all good?
Yeah, cool.
All right, so let's go back in. Nice one.
So yeah.
Contacting people like me and Ross, that's what you were going into.
Yeah. So yeah, that thing with anything, you can kind of guess at what people want, which is never the best way to do it, or you can actually do research to find out exactly what they want. So yeah, that was the process for that 12, 18 months, was to dig into the market and find out what people need, rather than just, like I say, me just building something which I'm assuming that they want and they might not want. And then you build something and then they don't want it and you've wasted a ton of time doing it. So yeah, that was the point of that 12 to 18 months term, was to do the research to find out what people wanted.
So and that's what I like. And so why then did you, and this is what I really want to, because I find it very unique. Why did you then, you've got this course, it's doing well, like it's going to do well because it has performed incredibly well. Why approach me and Ross? Why say, because this is something that most people, online courses, why did you go, I want to take these two people on, especially, and that's what I mean, someone like myself who could have been, and we're absolutely not now. In fact, we're allies in this, but it could have been seen as a big competitor. There are other people in our industry who me and you spoke about when we first spoke. We're going, look, this is not, you could go against these, you do this. So what made you go, I'm going to bring these other people in? Because you've done the research, but why bring other people in when you could have tried to teach all of it?
Yeah.
Why
Well,
do
that was
that?
it. Like you say, I was, because a lot of the stuff that I include in the program is stuff that's helped me, and both mindset and personal branding have been instrumental in getting me to where I need to be. So yeah, that obviously, like you said, that was the initial plan, to just do it all myself. But then, yeah, like you say, I think it's the way I look at things. Competition to me is like, I don't really see it as competition. I want to work with people who are in the same industry, as long as they've got the same kind of mindset and the same outlook. Then I think, why work against people when you can work with people?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, obviously you've always been kind of with the videos and stuff. So I think the videos caught my attention. I thought, yeah, this guy knows his shit. He probably knows more
Yeah,
than maybe a little bit, but
just a little bit, not much.
yeah. But I thought, yeah, he probably knows, maybe not
Yeah.
as much as me, but
Yeah, well, that's what I feel about you sometimes. I think sometimes the
no,
reason why I say it though, the reason why I say it is I think, like, when you approached me with this idea, and this is I want people to hear, because it's stuff that, and Dan might not even know this, but it was when you approached me, I was really taken back. I was like, okay, this guy is obviously doing really well. I've heard his name before. I know he's doing well. We'd never spoken at the time, but we knew of each other. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, I mean, I'm on board. I'm absolutely on board. But like, and I remember thinking, why would you do that? And not in a bad way. I was like, why would you do this? Why would you do? Because most people aren't. It changed my perspective, because now, and it's really interesting, we've been working together for over a year, and we're chatting about this before, is I 100% think it's the best thing. One of the best decisions I made was coming on board with you, because I think, and I also think the same with Ross, because what I love about the New Age Advisor course now, which is why I've wanted to ask you about the question, because looking at it now makes sense. But when you're trying to build something and you're building it and you're saying, like, this is what I have, this idea, and this is the thing. Like, I remember thinking, what? Like, okay, cool. Like, and I remember, and then you say you disappeared for a while. I was like, I don't even know if this is going ahead. Like, I don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden, it just came roaring out of the gate, and it was very successful. And is, as I said to you, one of my highlights of my week, to work with these guys. And it's very, very good. It's constructive, but it was just really unique. And I think it was something that I've not seen anyone else in this industry do. So that's why I want to give you props for that, because it was knowing when to, like, and it's inspired me, because it inspired me to be like, and I've said that when people ask me about what do you do, I'm like, well, Dan is the man for all of these Facebook. I don't understand any of that stuff. And I think it shows that when you say, we're stronger together than we are apart.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it. And I know that this is going to be huge as it grows and grows and grows. So I just wanted to understand why, because I do have people ask me, they're like, why are you on that course? I'm like, well, this is why, because there isn't, unlike, there's nothing else out there like it.
Well, like you say, I probably could have done it myself but there's no point being greedy and kind of taking all the revenue when I can get someone who's better qualified to do it, who you specialize in it. And obviously Ross
as well.
Yeah. So like I say, I've done a lot of mindset stuff myself, which I could have kind of muddled through it myself, but why do that when you can get an expert in to do it, when, like I say, you guys do this day in, day out. So you're the expert. So there's no point me trying to muddle through it when I can just pay someone who's more qualified to do a better job.
It just makes, that's what I mean. It was it's like an Avengers team up. It felt like, for me, and as the course went on, and as we started doing more and more coaching sessions, and like you were doing sessions and I was doing sessions, and Ross, I kept thinking, wow, like these, like you and Ross are working on things that I know, but like not to that level, like not to that depth. And I know that you and Ross are the same with mine. And it is quite interesting, because I was like, this is unlike anything in the industry. And this is not a sell to you guys, listen to this, but it is unlike anything else, because it is as I've said before, it's like, you can teach them how to create funnels. You can teach them how to generate automated sequences, build the type of things you built. You have people who can teach them how to create great content, engage with the audience, do the right type of video, audio marketing. You have people like Ross who helps them actually get off their ass and do it. And it is like a very,
it's the perfect
product.
It's the perfect kind of team, really, isn't it? Because you need all those parts. You need kind of the foundational kind of understanding and mindset side to it, to kind of look at things in the right way, and which kind of underpins everything that you do, not just in your business but in life. I think you need that mindset. Which
so with the New Age Advisor, what is, like, for my listeners here, so what is it? Because we've been talking about it, but I mean, I know what it is, but I'd love to hear, like, from the actual creator, what is the New Age Advisor? Who is it for? What does it help you do? Let's just unpack that.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, I think the main part to that time between speaking to you and putting it together was that research stuff. So from that research, the key things were that there's no real kind of predictable, systemized way to generate qualified appointments in financial services. I think a lot of people are doing a lot of things to generate business, but it's not the best investment in the time or the money. A lot of people are running around doing, well, networking events, or maybe it's online now, but there's still people are spending like 6 hours a week doing that, where they're putting themselves in front of like a room full of like 10 people, where 2 of them might be their ideal client. So, and like I said, they're spending 6 hours a week on it. Obviously, people do get results from it, but I think now with technology, that you can literally put yourself in front of thousands of your ideal client day in, day out, without you having to invest any more time into that. So yeah, it's just showing people a new way. There's other things. Obviously, a lot of people are relying on referrals to scale, which I think is very difficult to do because they're very obviously sporadic in the way that referrals come in. You can't really scale a business on something that's not kind of reliable or predictable. And a lot of people are buying leads in, and they're just spending all day ringing these leads, where loads of them are just shit quality. I think the average is like 10% conversion rate when you're buying a lead in, where there's no trust there. That's why, obviously, yeah, referrals do convert well because the trust is there, but there's no way of really scaling on them because, like I say, they're very unpredictable, aren't they, the way they come in. But yeah, like I say, with these leads that people are buying in, they're spending all day ringing through these lists of leads to get to speak to a handful, where one might convert, and it's like they've spent a full day doing that. So, and
like thousands of pounds. Like, that's the thing with leads. The thing with buying leads that makes my kind of blood boil is this idea of the problem you have, as you say, is with anything. If you want leads now, then the only real way to get leads now, like today, is to buy them. Like, there's no other way. I love it. People are like, oh, I can get you instantly. You can't. That's the only way. If you got someone on the phone, they're like, I need leads today. It's like, well, go and buy them then. But if you, as you say, it's fixing the problem instead of just having a short-term solution. But I do find that with buying leads, I've never seen it work out long-term. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. And it's not. It's just a race to the bottom on price.
Yeah, there is good lead providers out there, but generally speaking, I think it's just, this is why this model works, because I've been on both sides of it. I've generated leads for firms, and it's difficult to get good results because it lacks that personality of the firm or the advisor, and that's the main kind of selling point and the differential between, like I say, when you're buying leads in, there's no trust there. They don't know who the hell you are when you ring them, so it's difficult to convert those kind of leads. When there's, like with any business transaction, you need that trust there, don't you? And you've just not got that there when you buy leads in, which is, like I say, the way that we do it is, like I said, that's how we've structured it on these things. The other, obviously, that's one main pain point that the industry has. The other is the time element, that people like brokers and FS firms don't have time. So the idea is to show them this way which saves them a lot of time. Obviously, yes, it needs some investment to learn this stuff and put it together. But once it is put together and once it's in place, it saves you a hell of a lot of time compared to what they're doing at the moment in terms of their acquisition.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So that was the 2 pain points that we wanted to kind of address with the offering. So yeah, it's in answer to your question, Ash, basically what it is, it's a coaching program. So we're obviously teaching the guys how to generate their own appointments, their own qualified appointments using the internet. And yeah, we do it through, like I say, it's like an interlinking system. So the first part is all about niche, and I know which you're a big proponent of, and you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're big on niche stuff. So
Yeah, we sat here on the mortgage marketing pod. It's very niche.
yeah. But yeah, obviously, like you say, it's just when you can really get narrow and get specific about who you're going after, it just makes things. And because marketing's a big psychological thing, isn't it, as you know? So it's all about getting in the mind of your ideal client and really structuring a message around their specific problems and their desires that you can address with your service. And when you do that and you put that exclusively in front of those people, just kind of resonates 10 times more powerfully than it would if you just put a message out saying, we do mortgages, give us a ring, which is what 95% of brokers are doing. And it's just the same. It's just the same message. And they're just going for the same people. And so it's difficult to get any traction when you do that and you're competing against everybody else. So
yeah, I love that. And then what I found quite unique about your program, which is different to many programs that I have seen, and even different to the stuff that I do when I work with people one-to-one, which is very hard to do right now anyway, because it's fully booked. But it's one of those, that's why it's easier for people to just work with me, with you, because the system that you have is, as you said, interlinking. It's very much this system that allows people to go down this route of understanding their brand, understanding who they are, understanding the mindset behind how it works, understanding the marketing, how Facebook works, how funnels work. That was the thing I found quite unique about yours, was this idea of a funnel, and landing pages and all of that stuff. So for the listeners, because a lot of listeners don't understand that, and brokers out there, they're like, I don't really know what this is. So what is a funnel or an automated sequence? What is it, and why should any business have it? I mean, when you did that session in the coaching program, I was like banging that drum, and I was like, oh bloody hell, I need this in my life. So what is it, and why should they be having it?
Yeah, well, everything that I teach in the program in my modules is stuff that I use day in, day out to get my business. And through the funnel, that's been the big thing that's kind of, well, probably 60% of the leads that we get for this program are generated through the funnel. So basically what it is, it's a way of warming people up to you, really, and putting your kind of presentation in front of a hell of a lot of people that's automated. So it's like a funnel is basically a little website, really. It's like an interlinking system of web pages. So the main core of the funnel is a video-based training, really. Again, going back to the niche stuff for your niche, for your ideal client. So obviously for me, it's structured around mortgage advisors and how they can get more leads, because like I say, that's the main pain point of the market. So yeah, so it's an educational piece. So it's not me kind of pushing stuff at people. It's not me selling as such. It's an educational approach, because I think you need to educate before you can sell. So yeah, so people opt into this training. So I'm obviously running ads. I'm pushing people to this funnel. I'm not promoting my service as such. I'm just promoting this free training of how to get more leads for mortgage brokers. And then they opt into that with their email address. So that kind of, it's for free training, but they're kind of paying for it with their email address, if you like. So there's a bit of a value exchange, but it's like a micro commitment, really, because that shows that they're obviously in the market and they're interested in what it is that we've got to say. So we're building up a database of these lists that goes into a CRM. And then obviously they get access to training. So this is the core piece of it, which is, like I say, video training. So it's me teaching them something that I know a lot about, hopefully. So yeah, so that creates a bit of authority. So people look at me as if I know what I'm talking about, but hopefully I do, but maybe I don't. But the point is that, but yeah, so that creates authority. It builds a bit of trust, a bit of rapport, because it's like online. Again, as you know, trust is just at an all-time low at the minute. Nobody trusts ads on Facebook. Nobody. So you've got to. There's a lot of brokers talk to me when I go on the phone and say, yeah, a lot of what we do is Facebook ads, and say it doesn't work. But it's because they've not kind of built any trust. They've not put people through this kind of process to warm them up. They've just said on an ad, give me a ring, arrange a call, and nobody's going to trust with something probably the biggest financial commitment they're ever going to make. They're not just going to do it off the back of a random Facebook ad. So you've got to put something in between that ad and getting them on the call. So So yeah, it kind of ticks a lot of boxes, that funnel, like I say, because it's you teaching them something. It builds trust, it builds authority, builds rapport. Because you talk a bit in the video about like how you got started, a bit about yourself, and then at the end you kind of say, if you want more information on this, you'd say if you could take on this information, do what you want with it, or you can press this button below and arrange a one-on-one tailored strategy call with an expert that deals specifically with your situation. And then they press the button, and then that brings up a form where you're asking them pre-qualifying questions. So you're getting people to apply to work with you, rather than, it's kind of flipping the script a bit. So it's turning the psychology on them, and you're making them work to get a call with you. So you're asking them things like if they've got a deposit, how much deposit they've got, whatever you need to know. If they want to move in the next year, 6 months, if they're just gathering information, or if they want to move straight away. Whatever you need to know, so you've got that data there before you invest the time contacting them. Because again, the thing with, I think since the pandemic, people are just kind of taking on loads of leads and ringing them up, spending all day doing it, and it's just a waste of the time. So with this, at least you're only investing your time into the leads that you know are ready to move and that they're qualified. And then the book, there's an appointment set at like Calendly, where they'll pick a date and a time, and you'll obviously get an email with all that data on it. So it's quite foolproof in the way that it's set up, that it kind of touches a lot of those touch points in one whack. So people get warmed up to you in like I say, in one little system.
I love that. I'm a big fan of, and it's really interesting for mortgage advisors to hear that, I think, because I'm a big fan of this sequence, of this type of, it's like a nurturing sequence, as you're saying. It's like it's a sequence, because like for me with one-to-one clients, if people are, like, if they're brokers or not brokers, or like, you know, I work with people all over the world in different industries. What's funny is I don't have any outreach. And the reason why I don't have any outreach, as in I mean, everyone's different, but I don't do any outreach because my nurturing sequences is my content. This podcast, you guys listen to this, all this type of stuff. So that, as you say, they're filling in fact finds, and like when they come on the call with me, they've got to fill in like where they're at, how much money they make, what their turn, well, like everything that's going on. And it's funny because when I speak to people, it came from being a broker, being like, I am not going to sit, you know, when I was in Connells, and they'd be like, sit there, and they'd be like, you got 12 appointments today. And they'd be like, yeah, but 12 of them, like 11 of them don't even want to be here. So I've got to like try and sell them my service. Whereas, and the beauty of these, and you have the same because you've got them going through your sequence. The beauty of it is when people are on a call now with me, a discovery call, a strategy call, if they're on that call, and this is something that you guys as brokers should really get your head around, is that when they're on that call, if they've booked in and they filled it out and they've said they want it, you as the advisor have the power, because you can literally be, well, you booked in, you wanted the call, not me, you know, like it's when, and I've had that before, and you conversions go through the roof. And you know, you probably have the same experience. It's really crazy. Like I'd say to people before, like if I have 10 discovery calls, 9 would say yes, because it was quite bizarre. But when you trace it back, as you said about them getting to know you and trust, a lot of them will be like, I've been listening to the podcast for 6 months, or I've been following you for 3 months, or I've sat, you know, I get a lot of people who'll say, I've seen you through Dan, or I get a lot of people say, I've seen you through Alex, and so those sequences really matter. And when you automate it like what you do, you're just increasing, because I do think, and this is an issue I have, and I think I'm a big believer of brokers, is I'd love to hear your take on this, is that the world since I feel like anyway, since the pandemic, before the pandemic, it was kind of okay. But then all of a sudden, when the pandemic hit, especially in the mortgage world, it felt like all of a sudden everyone had to be a content creator. Everyone had to. And it was like kind of forced on a lot of people who, let's face it, guys, if you're a mortgage broker, you're quite, you know, you might be a introvert. You might be somebody who doesn't want to be on camera. You might be somebody who's not naturally outgoing, you know, because you're a numbers guy or a numbers girl, and that's fine. But I felt like the industry, and especially maybe some of the key players in that industry who are banging the drum, made out as if you had to be, if you're not making 3 videos a day, then you're just a waste of fucking time. Like, and actually something that I've realized and really believe, and I'd love to hear your take, is that you are guys, you're brokers. And if it is taking you half your working day to be making content, that is not a good idea. That is a really bad idea. And it is what people are saying. And it's stuff that, like, you need to have something that is automated, set and forget, maybe an hour a week. Sure, that might take 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 hours of investment at the beginning. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Because I do feel like I see it all the time. It's like, you've got to be making content on time, and you don't.
No, it's like what Gary Vee says, isn't it? Not to mention names, but well, I'm doing. But yeah, I think he talks about like creating 100 pieces of content every day. And I'm like, what? Really? Yeah, like you say, there's other ways around it, and that's the beauty of the internet, because there are that, like I say, once you've got like this funnel, this is like a kind of central piece of content that for me, I push everybody who wants to have a call with me. I'll make them go through that funnel first, because it pre-sells them, like you mentioned. It gets people familiar, so when you do get them on the call, we've got people who have done it converting like 30-40%, where normally, like I say, compared to a lead that you buy in, the average is 10%. So that's the difference. It's getting people warmed up to you, and like you say, you can, once this thing's set up, obviously, you've got to put some work in to get it set up. But once it is set up, like you say, you can just set it and forget it. Well, you've still got to tweak the ads. You've still got to push the traffic to it, but it takes like 15-20 minutes a day compared to, like you say, creating content every single day. This is the main piece of content, and that's all you need. Once that's recorded, that can go on for a year or two.
So I'm going to ask the question that everyone knows. I mean, I've seen the stuff, but everyone's going to ask this. So what have been some of the results we've had from this program? I mean, there's people out there like Jenny, and I know you said there's someone like other people that potentially don't turn the calls that have had some great results. But what have been some of the wins that the new age advisors have had? Obviously, just like broad scale, but how's it been?
Yeah, good. Well, there's two sides of it. Like everything in life, I think it's the commitment levels that makes the difference. We've had people sign up to it and they've never logged on to the blue thing, so they're
I know that.
They're not going to get any results. So
it's fine.
Asks me, well, how's that new age advisor going? Shit.
I've had, like, when I worked with people one-to-one and stuff, they say, how many people did you work with last year? And I was like, I worked with 57 people. I worked with so many people last year. And I'm like, okay, cool. So what have been the results? And I was like, 90 to 95% of them have never done anything. As in, they do the 8 weeks or the 6 weeks, and then they never see them do a post again. And as you say, and they're like, but don't judge me on those 96% of them. Judge me on like these 5 people who have 10x their business because they did what we told them to do.
Yeah.
So they're the people I'm interested in, because I'm not interested in people who can't be asked to log in.
No,
you can't be asked to log in. Well, that's your fault.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously, I think there is a degree. Obviously, that's why we have people like Ross to kind of give people a kick up the backside to keep them accountable. Because I do these kind of programs myself, and sometimes it is hard to. Obviously, you've got all the distractions, and you do your job, so your main thing. So, yeah, it's difficult to keep engaged. But yeah, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, we've had some success. I know, like, one of the people that was on there last week was saying that she was generating like 2 to 3 inquiries a day just by something that we taught her in the
on the week
in the session.
Yeah, that was your session.
That was mine. Boom. But then we've also had like,
it up, isn't it?
As well, it's not, but yeah, it is a little bit. But like, I said, well, great that. I said, I need to do it myself then, maybe. And then it's funny because it's that daily rundown thing, and I noticed you've been doing it, which is really good. Yeah. But then my wife has started doing it. My wife was like, because she's done it, and she's a content creator in her own kind of space, and she was like, this thing really works. And I was like, yeah, it does really. To be honest, it's probably it goes back to what we say, it's the simplest things. And these are the things that we get to discuss in these courses, in these calls, because it's when we try and tailor it to someone else. I know, like, so she's had that, but I also know there was somebody who's saying that they increased their business by 30% in the first 3 months. I was listening to one of the 200%.
200%, yeah.
200, there you go, 200%.
Yeah, within less than 3 months, Jenny did. Yeah, 200%.
Yeah, I was listening to the video, and then you've got, like, I know that there was somebody who's just got doing automated funnels and, like you say, converting crazy. I was watching. There's a great video on it that you've got on YouTube. That guys, if you want to go and check it out, it's really good. I'll make sure I put the link actually into the show notes for the review video on it, because there's some great good news stories for there, like, which has got so like Jenny and Mark and that on there talking about their successes, and it has been quite I don't know about you, mate, but like, because say we've been there from day one, it's for like a year goes by and they roll in together, and you just think, okay, but when you have to stop and take stock and go, shit, this stuff really works, like it's very good, and it's impacted quite a lot of businesses, and
Yeah,
I love being part of it.
yeah, I do. It's the beautiful thing about it, because I think as human beings, to help other human beings is what we're here to do. That's where we get our fulfillment in life. And when you can be in a role like we are, where we can do that and get paid for it, I think it's a very blessed situation. But yeah, to like I say, we've been doing it for a year now. I've just been checking up on people, and like you say, Jenny, she's 200% within 3 months. People like a guy in Northern Ireland, Peter, he's just 10x his investment over the year. And a lot of these guys are just doing the organic side as well, rather than doing the funnel and stuff and the paid stuff. Like you say, it's just a lot of it is just about putting themselves out there with a strategy and having that kind of that guidance there to back them up, so they're not going out there that vulnerable that they don't know what they're doing, so they're not setting themselves up for a fall kind of thing. They've got that reassurance to back them up. But yeah, I think a lot of it is very simple and basic. It's just putting yourself out there in front of the right people on a consistent basis with, like I say, with a strategy. And yeah, I think when people do that, they see massive difference in the business. It doesn't simple.
I would go as far as to say, and it's very true. Like, so my dad was head of training for Connell's Group for many years, director of training, wrote all the training programs and all this type of stuff. And the thing that he used to laugh about, and this is the same with yours, you're saying like these people have all just done organic and they've had these results. The thing that he used to laugh about is these top advisors would get on the stage all the time at the the events, and they'd say, like, this person's making 250 grand a year, this person's writing 400 grand, whatever, like big writers of one person. And they'd ask them, what are they doing? And what they were doing, which was very funny, was the thing that was in the 3-week training course that my dad had put together. Because my dad's been an advisor, successful advisor, a successful financial person, like retired like 50 odd, because he didn't need to anymore. And it's all through financial services, training, compliance. That was his kind of remit. And he'd always say, if you do what the people who know what to do tell you to do, and you do it and you follow it, which is like Ross thing, and like what we day in and day out, you will be a high achiever in the course. And it was like, what are you doing? They're doing the right follow-up. They're doing a system. They were doing this. And so I was going to say with that, with the New Age Advisor, with the course and the program, those people are having those results, and they're all wonderful people, but they're having those results by doing bits. So guys, just imagine, and that's what I would love it, if you actually went through it, which is the humans don't for some reason, but actually went through it and implemented the whole thing that we've designed to be interlinking. You would way more than 10x your business. You would be an industry like an industry leader. That's the thing that's scary with this stuff, is if you followed this and you follow it to the T, you do the automated sequences, you do your niche, you do your why, you understand your personal brand, you nail your mindset down, you do all of it, that your brain you will not be able to comprehend how successful you will be. And I remember one of my clients I train, he said to me, and he's not a mortgage broker at all, he's an ultra runner, and we launched his podcast, and he said to me, Ash, it's so basic, we've forgotten how to do it. And it is that. It really is that. I wish people, and that's what I would love, and that's my goal. My goal for this year is if we can get one person to do it all the way through fully, like, because that's the thing people do, and it's not about every good thing people do. They take the bits they like and don't like. But I want to get one person to go and drag them through it, to have all the sequences, all the content, because if they do, and guys, if you're listening to this, if that's you, come and do it, because I want to see who we get one person, because I promise you, you'll be unstoppable, because this is a robust program that would help you do that. It's insane, really. Like, I mean, I need to follow it.
But yeah, I think you're right in what you're saying. It's like, if you just put, like, people just assume that there's that much kind of information out there in terms of marketing where they just get kind of bogged down, and it's like an analysis paralysis is a good way of putting it, where people just think, there's just too much information. It's just overwhelming. But I think if you, like you say, just boil it down to the basics, and we've obviously put together a system that we know works. It just literally 100% work. People ask me on the phone, like, does it work? I'm like, I suppose you can't give any guarantees. I say, yes, 100% guarantee it works if people put it into place, and if people give it the full commitment, it 100% works. It's just 100% on people to make it work. And if they've got the right mindset, which is why obviously Ross is there, and it's why I like to speak to people before we enroll them, to make sure that they've kind of got that right mindset to grow, and they're not just, because it's just a waste of time for everyone. I'd rather not take their money, because it's gonna look bad on me again if they sign up and they don't do anything. They're going to say, "Oh, does that work?" And like, no, but really, and they've just not done anything, and so it's not going to work. But yeah,
so go on.
No, I was just going to say, like I say, it's like anything in life, isn't it? The more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
100%. So, man, if people want to sign up to this, want to learn more about it, where's the best place? Where can they go? I'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, so they can get in touch with me. I'm just on Dan Reddish on Facebook or LinkedIn, or on my website, or the funnel. They can have a look at my funnel on danreddishconsultant.uk, or my main website is danreddishconsultant.com.
Mate, I love it. It's been an absolute pleasure to finally get you on the show. This is definitely the last time, we'd have you on multiple times as the months and years roll on, because it's a long-term thing. But I just wanted people to hear it, because sure, I can talk about it, and I do talk about it anyone who knows this is already in the end, the dynamic content. But I want to have you on to talk about it properly, and also to know who you are, because I think people have seen you, but they don't always know the man behind the course, so I think it's exciting to have you on. Let's run the outro, Dan. Thank you so much for coming on the show, buddy.
You're welcome, mate. Appreciate it.